Want to make an easy but impressive cake? Afraid to bake because you burn everything? Well, you're in luck today. I'm going to show you how to do both with this Basque Burnt Cheesecake. Welcome back to my kitchen. So today we are making cheesecake, and it's a simple recipe, but it's quite an Instagram worthy recipe. It looks fantastic on pictures, and so the first time I made this cake, I obviously wanted to post it. I put it on Instagram and on Facebook, and then this happened. So yes, this cake is burnt. It's purposefully burnt. It's a crustless cake. So what happens is the batter you put in the pan, you put it in a hot oven, and then it caramelizes the edges into a natural crust. So that is what is going to cause this cake to be a little bit firm on the outside, but moist, luscious, and smooth on the inside. A little bit like me, strong on the outside with a soft center.
And no hair.
And a burnt top, yes, a burnt top, no hair, that's me. Let's get baking. So for today's recipe, what you will need is a kilogram of cream cheese, 500 mils of fresh cream, 340 grams or 1.5 cups of granulated white sugar, a teaspoon or 5 mils of vanilla essence, a teaspoon of salt, 6 large whole eggs, a third of a cup of cake flour, and then just some butter to grease the pan. And today I'm using a 25.5 centimeter spring loaded pan. This is preferable because you'll see later when we remove the cake from the ring, it's better to do it out of a spring loaded pan. If you don't have one, that's also okay. You are going to put parchment paper in here, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So the first thing we're going to do is warm our oven to 205 degrees Celsius, and I'm preheating the oven. I've done that already. And then the next thing we're going to do is butter our baking pan, and for this I take some butter which is softened, and I'm just going to start to rub it on some baking paper into the pan. If you want to use some spray and cook, you're more than welcome to do that. Next thing we're going to do is we want to line the pan with some parchment paper, and what I do here is I crumple the parchment paper up. It just makes it easier when you are molding it. And so this helps just to mold it into the pan, and you want an overhang here of about 5 or 6 centimeters all around. So in order to do this, we're going to do it with 2 pieces of parchment paper. And don't worry about the creases in the pan. That's just going to create a lovely look in the cheesecake when you take it out later. So what we do now is we're going to set that aside. So we start off with beating the cream cheese and the sugar together. I'm doing that with a paddle attachment mixed to my stand mixer. If you want to do it with a hand beater, you could also do that recipe with that. It'll take a little bit of elbow grease, but you can get it done that way. So to our stand mixer, we're going to be adding a kilogram of cream cheese. So that is quite a lot of cream cheese, and what I'm going to do is just start mixing it on a slow speed just to soften that up. We're then going to add in our sugar, and this is 340 grams of granulated white sugar, and here we're just going to cream the sugar and the cream cheese together. So the idea here is you want to cream the sugar and the cream cheese together and make sure that all that sugar is dissolved. So I'm going to increase the speed to medium. So it's been about 3 minutes now. The sugar and the cream has been incorporated. What you can also do to check it is if you just take the cream cheese and the sugar in between your fingers If there is still some granules of sugar, you'll feel it, but this is perfectly smooth, so you'll know that all the sugar is dissolved. If your sugar isn't dissolved, keep on beating until it is. Now it's time to add the eggs. You're going to do it one at a time. I've cracked all my eggs into a bowl, and I'm going to turn the beater to medium speed, and at one at a time I'm going to add the eggs. You're going to beat for about 15 seconds per egg until it's fully incorporated, and then you keep adding the eggs. So after the last egg is added, you just want to scrape down the sides and just make sure that everything is incorporated. So we've added all the eggs, and we're going to just give it another 15-30 seconds after scraping the bowl down, just to make sure that everything is mixed up before we proceed to the next step. So next up, we're adding the cream, the vanilla essence and the salt. So you're going to put your mixer on medium. In with the salt and in with the vanilla essence. And here you need about 30 seconds, and just make sure that's all incorporated. So after that's done, we're just going to remove the bowl from the stand mixer. You can keep it in, but the next step for me is putting in the flour, and I don't like to do that while the bowl is in the stand mixer. So I just take mine off here, and I'm going to sift in the flour into the mixture. And when all that flour is in, you're just going to return it to the bowl of your stand mixer. And here, you don't need a long mix, about 10-15 seconds, just until everything is blended in. You don't want to overwork the flour and form too much gluten, but this is just going to help form the crust when we put it in the oven. Just give it a quick scrape down, making sure all the flour is incorporated. And then a final little mix, and then we're good to put it in the oven. So we're done with the cream cheese mixture. Now it's time to pour the batter into the pan. And what I've done here is I've just taken this and put it onto a baking sheet that's going to go in the oven. And now it's time to pour. So we're going to take our cream cheese mixture and just pour it into the pan. And don't worry if it gets into the creases, that's part of the look. So when it's all in, you can just smooth the top of the cream cheese. And what's going to happen now, as it bakes, the batter is going to rise almost like a souffle, and it will come up. So you want to make sure, and it's important, that your parchment paper is going to be high enough, 5 to 6 centimeters, so that when this comes up, it doesn't go over the parchment paper or the baking paper. And now it's time to put it into the oven, 205 degrees Celsius for 60 to 65 minutes. What's going to happen is it's going to develop a deep golden brown color on top, and just keep your eye on it. Every oven is different, so you don't want to burn the top till it's black, but you want to have it a deep golden brown color. And what will also happen is the cake will still be quite jiggly when it comes out of the oven, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. So it's been 65 minutes. It's time to take the cheesecake out the oven. Okay. And there it is. Oh, it's looking very, very good. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. That's what you want. And as it cools down, The center is going to sink, so don't worry about that. And the cracks on there, that's part of the whole rustic look of this cheesecake. So in 15-20 minutes it's going to cool, and then we are going to release it from the pan. So it's been about 15 minutes, and now what we're going to do is just release the bottom of the pan from the spring mold, and now we just have to wait until it's completely cooled down, until room temperature. So we're going to leave it as is until it's room temperature. Depending on your temperature, it could take 4 hours. If you want to do it overnight, you could do that, but just leave it until it's completely cool, and then we can have a slice of cake. So it's been about 4 hours. The cake is cooled now to room temperature, and now it's basically time to unwrap the baking paper from the cake to reveal the cheesecake. There it is. So you see that this piece here is quite soft, still very creamy. And then towards the edges it's a little bit harder, as you can see. So the crust gets formed around the edge of this cake, but it is a beautiful texture and a wonderful cake. So guys, there you have it, the burnt Basque cheesecake. It is most probably one of the easiest cakes you will ever make in your entire life. It looks beautiful and it tastes amazing. So go out there and make it. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel to see more videos as they come along, and hit the bell notification to keep notified when my next video is coming out. So see you next week.